WRRS.
Hello, Intermediate School, and we welcome you here to channel WRRS on December 14th, 2018. I'm Caleb Stryker.
And I'm Samuel Olex. We pride ourselves with bringing you the latest in intermediate school news. Let's go to the map outside the office to get the latest update on where home runs are on the journey across the U.S.
I'm Corbin Osterwald, and I'm here to show the journey across the map. At Space Needle in Washington, we have Mrs. Hazard, and Little Bighorn in Montana, we have Mr. Jones. In Yellowstone National Park, we have Mrs. Burritt, Mrs. Hillman. In the Arches in Utah, we have Mrs. Canty. Then in Alcatraz Island in California, we have Mr. Scholes, Mrs. Rao, Thomas, Mrs. Thompson, Mrs. Ziegenfuss, Mrs. Wolver, Mrs. Aini, and Wall. In Area 51 in Nevada, we have this flat. And then in Mesa Verde, we have Mrs. Smith. Then in Mount Rushmore in South Dakota, we have Mrs. Flight and Mrs. Hahn. In Roosevelt National Park in North Dakota, we have Mrs. Stark. And then in Laura Ingalls, Minnesota, we have Mrs. Smith. And in Gateway Arch, we have Mrs. McDaniels. Make sure you get those tickets in by the end of market period. Our final destination is Fort Sumter. Back to you.
Great job, everyone. Keep those tickets coming in. Our next stop is Theodore Roosevelt National Park in Medora, North Dakota.
Before Theodore Roosevelt became president, he went to the Dakota Territory to hunt bison in 1883 and fell in love with the rugged lifestyle of the West.
He liked it so much, he even bought a ranch there.
Theodore Roosevelt returned many times to live the life of a cowboy, explore, invigorate his body, and to have the Little Missouri Badlands renew his spirit.
Today, the colorful North Dakota Badlands provides a scenic backdrop to the park, which memorializes the 26th president for his enduring contributions to the conservation of our nation's resources. Next stop, about Paul Bunyan in Minnesota.
Can you find out what Paul Bunyan's sidekick pet was and his name? Also, what was Paul Bunyan known for? If you write the answer down and take it to Mrs. Walter, you can get a prize.
We have a very special guest today.
Dr. Mayer, the father of Zara, one of our 6th grade students, came to WRRS to talk to us about his medical mission to Palestine.
Before we go to the interview, let's see where Palestine is. If we start in Hornell,
we can see where we live in the state and then in the United States.
Go across the ocean above Africa and the Mediterranean Sea and go to the Middle East to the West Bank. It borders Israel, Jordan, and Egypt.
It would take us over 12 hours by plane just to get there. Let's find out what Dr. Mir did in the Middle East.
I'm Zara, and this is my father, Dr. Mir. He is here to tell us about his trip to Palestine, but before he does, let's get some background information about him. Can you tell us what kind of doctor you are and where do you work?
I'm an anesthesiologist, so that means I work in the operating room. I'm part of a surgical team, and I make sure that the patient is asleep and unaware and doesn't feel any pain during surgery, and then afterwards I take care of them until they're fully recovered. And I'm working here in Hornell at St. James Hospital. I've been here for the last 16 years.
What is Imana and how are you involved?
So Imana stands for the Islamic Medical Association of North America. It's a organization of healthcare professionals, so it's not just doctors, it's nurses, respiratory therapists, physical therapists, anyone who's in healthcare. And what we do is we go around the country as well as around the world, and we volunteer our time to help those who don't have access to healthcare. And sometimes we respond when there's disasters and take emergency teams to places here in the USA as well as internationally to provide emergency medical care during a time of disaster.
Where did you just go and what did you do there?
So I just returned from Palestine. So Palestine is in the Middle East. It's in between Israel and Jordan. It's a place where they need a lot of help in surgery and in medicine. And we were there operating in a city in the northern area called Tulkarm. We were operating on mainly children who had some really, really bad burns that required reconstructive surgery. So that means that they were burned so bad that they can't use their arms or their fingers, their hands or their legs, or sometimes on their other parts of their body. And we were with a team of plastic surgeon, and what we did was we operated on them to reconstruct those areas that were damaged from the burns. And we also operated on children who had hand deformities, or they were born with more than one finger or not enough fingers, or there's other issues that sometimes can happen before you're born, that you're born with an abnormal hand. So we help those as well, because if you can't use your hand, you can't really go to school it's hard to get a job and do things in life, because one of the most important things is to be able to use your hands. So we were able to help a lot of children with that as well.
Have you done these trips before?
Yep, I've done a lot of these trips. I think I've done over 24, so almost over 20 some trips. Each trip is different. It's to different parts of the world. And I'm just happy that I've had the chance to go to many places.
Why do you do these trips?
So I started doing these trips back in 2004 when your brother was born, Ibrahim. And when everyone who goes into healthcare, nurses and doctors and everyone who works in hospitals, part of them always wants to help people. And that's why we went into medicine. Just like teachers go into wanting to teach because they want to help children, they want to inspire minds. So people who go into healthcare have a goal of helping people. So in 2004 there was a huge earthquake in Indonesia, and that earthquake killed hundreds of thousands of people. If anyone wants to Google it, you can Google the tsunami of 2004, and it was devastating. So at that time Ibrahim was a baby, and I remember watching the news because he was only 4 or 5 days old, and on the news they kept showing all these mothers who were crying and were upset, and because they lost their children and they lost their families, and then there was babies who were orphans because their parents got swept away. And I think, like many of you here and all of us here in Hornell, when we see things like that, we always say, I wish I could help, I wish I could do something. But it's really hard to do something when you're so far away. So a few months later, I got 2 or 3 months later, I got an email from Imana saying, hey, we're trying to get doctors to volunteer to go. So I remembered that, a few months before when Ibrahim was a baby and I was holding him in my lap, that I felt so sad because I was, a new father, right? So when you're a dad, things change for you all of a sudden because you start thinking differently. So I was like, this is my chance. I didn't do anything then. I just said I wish I could help. But the opportunity came to me now by this email, and I was like, do I just delete it? Or is this maybe, God's way of sort of saying, hey, you said you wanted to do something, here's your chance. So I responded and said yes. So that was my first mission, and ever since then, it's been something it's really rewarding for me, and also I'm able to see how much of a difference I can make in those children's and adults' lives when I go there and help. So it's just become sort of a part of me, and I enjoy doing that a few times a year.
Thank you for coming to talk to us on WRRS. WRRS hopes you can continue to make these trips to help others. Back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Muir, for taking the time to come to WRRS, and thank you for what you are doing to help the world. Great job to all those that participated in the chorus and band concerts.
You all did a fantastic job.
Miss Ziegenfuss has some shout-outs.
To her students for rocking multiplication and scoring 8 level 4s on the NBT 5 assessment.
Also to her students for persevering through the narrative writing unit and for all writing such detailed and strong narratives. Mrs. Wolf has exciting news about a new activity students can be involved in.
Let's go to Mrs. Wolf now and see what it is.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Wolf, modified volleyball coach. We are doing open gym for 5th and 6th grade girls interested in playing volleyball. If you'd like to come and learn the techniques that you'll need to play at the competitive level once you get to high school, stop in the library for a permission slip and a schedule. Thanks.
Don't forget pennies for paws.
And remember, the Hornow Animal Shelter needs towels, dog and cat toys, animal food, etc. We can make some animals very happy. We have new winners of the Respect, Responsibility, and Safety drawing.
Madison Rudenauer, 6th grade, won the water bottle.
Harper Davis, 5th grade, won the bag, and
Jadalyn Gardner, 5th grade, won the chance to be in a challenge.
congratulations.
It's time for the If I Could Give the World a Present, I Would Give with Mrs. Fridman.
I wish no one would fight.
Anyone else?
I wish that everyone would love school like me.
I wish that everyone was treated the same.
I wish that everyone was nice to others.
That's great. Who else?
I wish that people were loved.
I wish people would get along.
I wish people would stop bullying. I wish all animals were cared rightly. I wish everybody had enthusiasm.
I wish that the world would have peace and no harm.
I wish everyone could be healthy.
Okay, we have a couple more.
I wish everyone would have a home.
Very nice.
I wish everyone can respect each other. I wish that people could be kind to others.
I wish that others would be kind to others.
I wish the world was full of kindness.
I wish there was no war.
This brings an end to our broadcast this morning.
Don't forget to show respect for our school, our classmates, family, and community, and be responsible.
We are respectful.
We are responsible.
We are safe.
We are Red Raider strong.
What are we going to be? We are going to be... One more time.